This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school. That's right, absolute #1 online art school. Please click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey Nuts After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the animation industry. You are going to have a fantastic week. In fact, you are going to have the best week of 2021. Oh, because you're here with us.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
How good of a week is our audience going to have?
You're gonna have a great week. Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday, 2021!
It's already going so well.
It's going so well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, today, we're going to talk about our predictions for the year 2021. I really like it when people make predictions. It's like making a bet with life.
Yeah.
We're gonna bet this is gonna happen, and we put our ass on the line because we're saying these things, and could be in public,
yeah.
And we could either turn out to be terribly wrong, or the next Nostradamus. We'll see.
But before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button, tickle, jingle, all my bells and buttons
over there,
over here.
Yes. All right. So where do you want to begin?
Well,
let's recap everybody let's catch everybody up on 2020. What happened there?
Well, specifically for us in California, we are all locked down, and it has been recently announced that we are kind of in an indefinite lockdown. It was only supposed to be 3 weeks. That's what they said back in March. And then they did it again and again and again. And then finally they did it again right before Christmas. And then right after Christmas we were like, oh, hey, are we free now? And no. There's gonna be another 3 or 4 week extension. But it's kind of like indefinite, until things get better. The definition of better is kind of up in the air.
When you told me that Newsom or whoever said it's indefinite, I was like, oh, we're done for. I literally was like, oh, I said it in the C-3PO voice. I was like, we're doomed.
Yeah. And in light of recent news, I think a lot of people have kind of broken. They couldn't handle that there's going to be just a lockdown forever, it seems. Well, the funny thing is, I saw a lot of people go man, if only people would just, wear their masks, social distance, so we can all just get out of this lockdown. That's what they said in March. I'm kind of shocked that people still think oh, if we just obey, 4 weeks from now, we'll be free. I'm like, no, they kept saying that. How many times do they have to dupe you until you realize, oh, I don't think there's an end to this. When is reality going to set in? And I also think, due to my own observations of being a Californian, living and breathing and existing here.
The lovely Californian air.
Yeah, great, yeah. So fresh.
So fresh.
So great. And I had this funny realization that when people say this, they kind of blame, oh, if only other people wore their masks. If only other people, socially distanced and all this stuff. And I go man, how much do you think other people don't follow the rules here? Because I guarantee you, everyone cheats a little bit, if you're honest with yourself. You're kind of being a little bit of a hypocrite if you're not sometimes I don't cheat a little bit. And most of the time people saying this typically are really young too. And I'm like, you're probably the person who cheats the most.
But they don't realize they're cheating though.
No, because it's always someone else's fault.
Right.
And I go man, how much do other people have to do in order for you to believe that we will be free one day. It's just funny. It's just funny because I look around and I'm like, everyone's for the most part pretty obedient, pretty compliant. For like, if people are accidentally not in compliance, it's usually on accident. There's no need to like yell at them or be mean or impatient or whatever. So I just think it's funny. It's like online statements are never truly what they are.
Yeah. You don't know if people are saying things because they want to look good in front of the people. Yeah. Getting that social points, getting them likes, and getting the follows.
Like, oh, I'm doing my part. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm totally doing my part.
Stunning and brave. Okay. Follow. Yeah.
So our first prediction, though, is that as I'm seeing everyone slowly have an internal meltdown of our situation here in California, I was like, man, I thought people had reached their breaking point probably like back in the fall. Maybe the summer. I was like, people are gonna like stand up for themselves and like defy. And they're gonna like stand for something for once, because now it kind of matters. You need to work, you need money.
In California, they're not even telling us when this is gonna be over.
And technically,
is that confirmed?
Yeah.
Is that for real?
Yeah, they're like, there's not going to be an end until things are better. And when are things going to be better? Tell me. According to this tier system, at what point are things going to be better? But yeah, I thought people would have reached their breaking point a lot sooner and just been like, technically these like quote unquote orders, they're not law. Like no one can force you to be miserable at home or whatever. They're called orders for a reason. It's not like some kind of law. So like people don't technically have to comply, but they do.
Oh, but grandma.
Yeah, I know. My grandma.
So selfish. Am I right?
I'm not saying people should. I'm just saying I thought people would have reached their breaking point by now. So the big theme
of this 2021 year, we predict, is going to be: are you going to defy or are you going to obey?
Yeah.
We don't know. Well, I know we're not in agreement of what the outcome is.
Yeah.
But definitely, this is the big theme of this year.
Yeah, so I thought like, okay, the breaking point was back in fall. I was wrong. And then now I am looking at the situation again and I'm like, okay, this is the breaking point. I'm so excited. that people are going to take their life and their fate into their own hands, and they're going to finally stand up for something, at least for themselves, for their own well-being, for whatever.
The $600 stimulus! Fuck all that shit. Fuck all of that shit. $600 stimulus. Fuck all that shit Janet said, $600 stimulus.
So my belief is that people are going to defy in 2021. The thing is, I am an INTJ, as I like to say all the time.
All the time. God.
And one of the defining characteristics of people with this personality type is that we're optimists. I'm actually very hopeful, and I believe in people more than most people. Like, behavior-wise, I am misunderstood that I am a pessimist all the time. But actually, that's what makes INTJs so confusing to a lot of people. I'm actually an optimist, and I believe in people, and I believe that, like, yeah, you're gonna do it, right? You're gonna, like, do something. And that is why when I make predictions, usually when they're about people, I am usually wrong.
Uh-oh.
Like, all the time. When I make predictions about, like...
Give an example.
What's a good example?
I don't know. I thought you'd have one. But you don't have to have one if you don't want to. but I thought it would be helpful.
Oh, so, okay. All the time when I either work with or I observe other people, I go like, man, you're gonna like do great things. You're gonna take advantage of all this extra time during the lockdown. You're gonna like learn a skill. If I like see you in a month, you're gonna be a new person. I don't know why I think that, but then I'm constantly disappointed. I'm always like, oh,
you know who took the fattest win last year? Last year, I have to say it.
Who?
Postmates.
Yes.
The fuck?
Yes.
Postmates was one of the biggest winners, along with toilet paper. But Postmates, man, they still get Postmates notifications.
Yeah.
We haven't used
constantly
it in a while, but man.
Yeah. And so I'm constantly disappointed in people and how like little they care about themselves. I'm just like, man, at least be selfish. At least like do something to benefit yourself. But I'm just like, wow, my expectations for people are just too high all the time. Whereas like you're not often right about like the world. Like when I make predictions about the world,
you're often
I'm usually right.
Yeah.
Like with Disney and all this stuff. But like with people, I'm always wrong. with you, you're the opposite. So we like balance each other out.
I'm a optimist on the outside, dark pessimist on the inside. I really know how not to show it.
You really are a pessimist. You always tell me like, man, I have too much hope. I have too much ganas.
Yeah.
I need to give people some of my ganas.
Yes. We tell you that all the time. You need to give people some of that good ganas. Like, you have so much. You could inspire the world. If we're going to make a prediction, I'm going to say that people are going to be okay with being locked down. And damn the consequences. It doesn't matter if your business gets shut down or whatever it is. They're just going to... Because there's so much social pressure. Everyone cares so much about how they're perceived online, how they're perceived in front of their family and friends, and especially their jobs when they want to like climb the ladder so hard. And it takes too much work. It takes way too much work for people to stand up. People would rather deal with the shitty state Cyberpunk 20 whatever billion number is with the sorry state that game is, than to like outright say like, fuck man, we pay good money for this shit. Like this is the thing. Can I go on like a video game rant?
Sure.
I think it's really fucked up that video game companies release these half-baked pieces of shit. And this is like almost every game. It's like, I know not to buy a game when it first comes out because it's shit for the first 3 to 6 months. And then when the collector's edition Super Game of the Year edition comes out with all the DLC and like all the patches complete, that's the game that like they kind of wanted to release. Yeah. And then like and just watching the act, you know, watching Ackman's video on Cyberpunk was just like more like hilarious and mortifying. Hilarious that like, holy fuck, it never in my years of looking at video games have I seen like a travesty this big. There's been Fallout 76 or whatever the fuck it's called, and then there's like, oh, there's so many games, like there's just so many games with bugs. Oh, Mass Effect Andromeda, another one. But Cyberpunk is bad. Yeah. It is bad, and it's like really embarrassing for everyone who worked on the game. And like, as much as I want to say I feel sorry, I don't really feel sorry for any of you, because it's like the execs pushed this game before it was like even like rightly made. No one did or said anything about it, and everybody was complacent and compliant in releasing a piece of shit out in the world for people to sucker into buying like for $60, you know. And it's like seeing the PlayStation store go, no, we don't tolerate this kind of bullshit on our marketplace. We don't like let half-baked pieces of shit on our storefront. We're gonna not even have this game available, and we are just gonna wait until it's better, which I know it is. I believe the act man when he says that there's actually a good game in there. I can see it, but it's a travesty. It's like, you know, you have something good, don't you want it to succeed? Don't you want it to have the best lifespan?
Yeah, and then now there's all this bad PR.
Bad PR, and then no one's like the same thing with The Last of Us. No one wants to fucking play that game. There's so much bad PR. It's just like, I don't want to deal with all that. Fuck all that shit.
It's so sad. We were talking about how 2020 really could have benefited from a video game, a really good video game that could distract people and give them some kind of relief from
all of this.
Yeah. The world.
It's overwhelming.
Reality, yeah.
It's overwhelming.
But
I've taken up so many hobbies just to like give me peace of mind.
And we were kind of like browsing through all the video games, and we were like, there's absolutely nothing that's more entertaining than real life right now.
Right.
And so to the point where young people and older people, but young people in particular who would be playing these video games, they've realized real life is a far more interesting video game than any video game that's out right now. Yeah. So
it just goes to show you how shitty the video games are.
Like, people are LARPing, like Farmville, I guess, in Portland, and they're like they're pretending in where was it, New York recently, that it's GTA out there.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, it kind of is, because have you ever played GTA? You wake up after you've been caught by the police, and
you get like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like, shake it off. You know, you keep going. You keep, you know, doing your GTA thing. And then I just observed these clips, and I was like, man, it's no wonder video games are not doing so well right now.
Yeah.
Real life has kind of become a little bit of a video game to a lot of people. And to the people who don't want to participate, it's like watching a Twitch stream.
Yes,
of
exactly.
a video game. But
and that's the reason why I think the entertainment industry is suffering. Their biggest competition's real life. Like, how many people are glued to their phones just trying to like make, like, just piece together the fucking mess that was 2020.
Yeah.
And that could be 2021. No, just kidding. I'll edit that out. Maybe not. I don't know. But that's far more interesting to a lot of people than I'm sure The Mandalorian is.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Sadly.
Sad to say. Yeah. Sad to say. No, truly sad to say.
Yeah. And also, something else recap that has happened is like, yeah, we got our $600
Oh, look at you. She
check.
was wrong.
I was wrong.
The day has come. High five. Virtual high five. Poof. Yay. Janet wrong.
I was
wrong. It
wrong.
only took like almost 50 episodes.
Yeah. I was wrong for once. You got your stimulus before March. Sad part is it's only $600. So, yeah. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. And the problem with that, I think a lot of young people, and honestly, our friends, because us as millennials, a lot of us are a little bit, how would you say, not very knowledgeable about the world and how real the world works. So this kind of means inflation is going to happen like crazy and like fairly fast. And if none of you understands what that means, it just means things are going to cost more in the long run. So it kind of happened to us back in like 2008 during the housing crisis.
Yeah, I was saying like every generation has their little crisis.
Yeah.
And ours was going into college when the housing crisis basically first started.
Mm-hmm. And dealing with all of that, which honestly, it's kind of similar. Like, you're probably, all the people who are young, probably like maybe 18 or so, probably in their 20s as well, probably you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time because of the $600 stimulus check, because of everything that's happening. Things are gonna be more expensive for you. And also, we predict that things are not going to look so well in terms of your job search in the near future. I had already been seeing a lot of people get laid off online, specifically in animation.
And recently, you told me a lot of the productions have stopped, especially since the lockdown's indefinite here in California.
Yeah. So, when the lockdowns were announced or prolonged after Christmas, I think the Hollywood Reporter put out an article announcing that Disney, Warner Brothers, and I think CBS all announced together that like they're postponing production for a lot of TV shows for 2021 because of the lockdowns. And I was like, oh no. That's not good. So I have been listening to a new audiobook titled Loser Think by Scott Adams, and it is a great book to basically teach you how to think better and be better in your life, which is all something that we want to do in 2021. So if you would like to listen to this book and you don't have an Audible subscription already, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you will get 1 free audiobook or 2 free Audible original audiobooks. So audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. And I honestly believe like a lot of people here are very, very scared of the pandemic and all this stuff. So
I bought a Hofner bass on a whim. Fuck me, right? I bought a Hofner bass and we had to drive all the way to Santa Barbara, which from Burbank is like. That's like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was a lovely drive. We saw the sunset. It was gorgeous. The hills were beautiful. But we went, and it was really dark, and we didn't know which house it was because it was really dark. The houses are stacked close together. So we basically, you and I crowd around in front of this one house where we think it's them.
Yeah, because it's like lit up.
Right.
And stuff.
And mind you, we're wearing our masks, okay? I'm wearing my mask. We're safe, you know? Okay. But then what happened?
So like an old couple comes out, and we think it's them that we're meeting them, and they're like,
yeah, because I'm thinking like, oh, old couple probably like know to get a Hofner bass. It's a Beatle bass. It's the bass that Paul McCartney would use. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like this is authentic. It's dope.
Yeah. So they come out, but then they're a little bit like, can we help you?
Right. First, the older gentleman comes.
Yeah.
He's not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
But, he's in his house. But, like, he just comes up to us, no problem, goes, like, can we help you? And very, like, friendly.
Yeah.
Because, like, we do look lost. We were lost.
Yeah.
And then his wife behind him with a glass of wine. Bright red glass of wine. Kind of, like, hobbles over. And was like... Yeah, can we help you?
Looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, looking over his shoulder. Also not wearing a mask. Yeah. So there you go. Two lovely old people living it up, you know?
Just like relaxing.
Just relaxing.
Yeah. And
then we explain to them.
We're like, oh, we're here to buy a bass. And then they're like,
at which address?
Which address? Who are you looking for? And then like, oh, they're next door. So
because we saw that the people we were buying the bass from just came out and we're like, oh, hey. So these were much younger people.
Yeah, like
I think
our age or younger, yeah.
Yeah.
And so like they're like, oh yeah, come in, kind of like basically come into the driveway.
Right.
And I follow them, and
they're wearing their masks.
They're wearing their masks. Completely different from like the older couple.
The vibe was different.
Yeah. And they're wearing their masks and like really trying to like keep their distance from us.
Right.
And I just like forget myself sometimes. Well, one of them, she's like trying to get the bass from inside the house, and I just get a little bit. I like follow her, and I don't realize like I'm not supposed to follow her into her home. So she's like, "Whoa, stay back!"
Yeah.
And then I was like,
like, whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then that told me all I had to know. Like, I kept thinking like, man,
we just kept talking about it for an hour and a half back home.
Yeah.
It's like we saw just the state of America
Yeah. I was
in
like,
one little tiny interaction with the olds and the youngs.
I was like, why are the people our age who will probably be fine? They're so scared. And then like the older people
They're
are
fucking
like,
getting drunk and shit.
like I got the feeling they were like, why are you wearing your masks, weirdos? And I was like,
And then there's the like, oh, they're young.
yeah,
Don't worry about
whatever,
it.
yeah. So I was like, the old people aren't scared, and the young people are really scared. And I'm like, that's hilarious. So, I mean, our prediction is that, there's probably going to be a lack of jobs in 2021 for everyone in Hollywood or in general, I guess. And, all the young people trying to look for work. I mean, we had it rough too in 2008. So, and basically like 8 years after. So it is what it is, and you just make lemons out of lemonade. You figure it out, I guess. You can't just roll over.
It is
It is what it is.
Also, I think in the previous episode we mentioned briefly that guild negotiations are coming up this year.
Yes.
What does all of that mean, Janet?
So I think I need to like start from like the very beginning, as if people know absolutely nothing about
Sounds fair.
guilds and working in animation. So for some reason, a lot of people think working in animation is a contract job. Like, for example, Disney will hire you, and when they hire you, you sign a contract for, let's say, like 2 years, and then you're kind of guaranteed that 2 years until that 2 years is up, or maybe you get fired, whatever. But that might have been the case way back when, but especially in animation, that's not how our jobs are negotiated at all. We're more like, I would say, freelancers, long-term freelancers, where we are hired, but usually for a very short amount of time compared to like other industry jobs. We're like, I think in our parents' generation, it was pretty common to like stay in one job for like 5 to 10 years. And it's just kind of assumed that's what you do. But like for us, it's pretty often where people jump from like one job to the next, from like 9 months in, a year in, just because the project is over, so we don't have a job anymore. We need to find the next job. So it's kind of like somewhere in between freelance and a traditional, normal, quote unquote, stable job. There is no real stable job, but the way our contracts, I guess, are negotiated is basically kind of through the guild. We pay to be in the guild, and we kind of have to be in the guild. It's not like a choice if you're in a guild studio. And supposedly they argue and negotiate for your benefits, and this happens every 3 years. The problem is, the reason why it's kind of important when you start working in animation to pay attention to this stuff is because every 3 years you negotiate basically higher wages to keep up with inflation and stuff like that. So when I got in, it was 5 years ago, and people were just starting to transition into new media. So like Netflix was a thing, and I think Disney Plus didn't exist yet. Hulu was kind of a thing.
5 years ago, it was mostly network TV shows that people were working on in TV. Now the majority seems to be streaming shows.
Yeah.
That's where it seems as though everybody's going to work on a streaming show one day.
Eventually.
At this point. Yeah. So this affects everyone.
Yeah. So at the time, I had first gotten hired at DreamWorks, and they were hiring a lot because a lot of shows were getting greenlit by Netflix through DreamWorks. A lot of shows were getting greenlit by Netflix to DreamWorks so that they can make these shows for them. People were basically, anyone who worked for a streaming show got paid less, basically. And
how much less?
Like a third less. And
compared to the network TV.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's the same job, it's the same function, everything is exactly the same as a normal network TV show, except you just get paid less because it's on a streaming platform. Like, that's how they call it new media. And we tried to negotiate better terms for new media 3 years ago into 2018. And in my opinion, we kind of got a shitty deal. And the way I look at it is like, why on earth do people get paid differently because of the platform that it's on? It's the same job. Like, when I was working at...
Because what you're essentially saying is that the TV shows that are on... The shows that are on streaming services are cheaper.
Yeah.
That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, and are worth less.
Yeah, they're cheaper, worth less, literally worth less pieces of content.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, but it's the same job. Like, if this were a free market, and let's say it's like freelancing or whatever, you can negotiate your wages however you like, and it's just supply and demand. But why is it that, like, everything's kind of tiered like this, and what makes streaming lesser than network? Like, I don't understand. So I just thought, like, this whole thing is ridiculous. Like, why? When I would complain about this, once when I moved over to Disney and I started getting paid more because I was on a network TV show then, the reaction was amazing. I understood.
When you told me, when you told this to me, when you came home, I was like, I'm shocked at how short-sighted the people at Disney are.
Yeah, or people in general.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, I realized, okay, I think negotiations were about to come up. I think 2018. So yeah,
and you barely got in, and I was in animation, but I was in a smaller studio, and I wasn't a part of the guild yet. Yeah. But you were paying off your dues actually.
Yeah.
At this time.
Or I already paid them off, and So I was like, I came from DreamWorks, so I understood the plight of all you DreamWorks people. You get paid nothing. And I was kind of empathetic to it, and I knew that, like, the negotiations were coming up, and I was like, it's important that, like, people know, like, we're all in agreement, right? Like, I'm never someone to shy away from, like, financial conversations and these things. So I would be like, man, like it seems like, and I predicted this right when I got hired. I saw that, like, Netflix is, like, booming, they're greenlighting everything and all this stuff. This is the future. As much as people want to deny, like, streaming is not the future at that time, like, everyone was, oh no, it's just Netflix. Like, people aren't going to mass adopt this kind of thing. Okay. I was like, all our jobs are going to be new media jobs one day. So are we all going to be okay with getting paid a third less than we used to get paid? Just because it's new media, whatever that means? And so I thought, like, obviously, we all are in agreement that this kind of looks dire. That's what I assumed, because everyone at DreamWorks at the time understood that. So I go over to Disney, and I start talking about this stuff, and I was like, man, this whole, like, I don't know about Disney Plus, man. And then as I was saying that to someone at Disney I was working with, they were like, what do you mean? I'm so excited for Disney Plus. And then I was like, you realize new media people get paid a third less? And then they're like, no, that's never going to happen to us.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what do you mean? It's happening. It's happening. Like, The Mandalorian hasn't come out yet, but, like, Disney Plus was being talked about, and everyone was hyping it up and stuff all over the studio, and I was just kind of like, everyone's so excited for this thing. They don't see that you're going to get paid less because of it. And they're like, oh, it's never gonna happen to us. And I was like, oh, you don't think it matters to you, even though you literally have friends and people you know who get paid less, and you don't care. You literally don't care.
You don't care until it happens to you. You don't care.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, what do you mean it's never gonna happen to you? Do you understand like how much less you get paid for the same job? And then they're like, no. And I was like, okay, I got paid this much at DreamWorks.
How much?
I got paid, I think starting was like $1,500 a week. $1,500 a week for revisionist. I don't remember at this point anymore. But when I got to Disney, like my pay jumped up like $300-$400 a week.
That's right.
And I was like, so I was doing the exact same job.
Yeah.
Like,
in fact, I think you were doing less work at Disney.
Yeah, because like clearly when you get paid less, they treat you worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm telling them like, this is how much I got paid at DreamWorks. This is how much I get paid now. I'm doing the same exact job. And I think they finally like comprehended exactly what that means, but I still think they were like, not gonna happen to me. And then it's just like, oh, our negotiations this year, 2018, this is hopeless.
This is hopeless.
This is hopeless. That's when I realized this is hopeless.
Yeah. So our prediction is the animation industry will bend the knee and take it from the studios, and the studios get to save so much money because the animation industry won't do a single goddamn thing.
No. So at the time, once negotiations rolled around, there was a lot of internal talking about striking. So similar to like the writer's strike way back when, because we were negotiating and it wasn't going so well, and people were just talking about striking. And so there was a whole lot of heated arguments about should we or shouldn't we. And what I didn't understand as a dumb millennial was that when you strike, like when a union strikes or whatever, you all have to vote for it. Like you don't just as an individual decide I'm gonna strike, because then you'll be like the only one,
right?
Because you didn't organize anything. So they were like, okay, we are going to vote now if we are going to strike. And at the end of the day, the guild voted as a whole. We all voted to not strike. I voted to strike. Just putting that out there. And the reason being that I saw a lot online was just like, well, maybe next time. And like, so these negotiations happen every 3 years. So
and you're kind of stuck with the result.
Yeah. So they're like, maybe next time, because we don't have money. Like we have our student loans. We're like buried under student loans. I can't go. I'm worried about my job. I don't want to lose my job. Or like, I have a family. I live paycheck to paycheck. Like, you don't understand. You think like animation people, people in Hollywood must be like so wealthy. You get paid so much. Like, no. I think no matter how poor you are, no matter how wealthy you are, Americans are just really bad at managing money and financial literacy. So you'd be surprised how many people I know who live paycheck to paycheck with an animation income. So, of course, when push comes to shove and we all have to vote for whether or not we're going to strike, a lot of people can't afford to. And so partly because we pay so much money, to be part of the guild, you have to pay your dues. You have to literally pay dues to be in the guild. It's like a membership fee, and it's quite a lot of money.
Like a fraternity.
Yes.
You're joining a fraternity.
Basically, they call you brothers and sisters.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. And you're kind of forced to, and we pay all this money for what? We don't get a strike fund. Like literally we strike, we're basically not getting paid. So we all individually have to be financially capable of striking. So if you follow this logic, it kind of costs money to protest and to strike. Problem is, people in animation, they buy lots of things. They buy DVDs. They have their car loans. They have their student debt loans, and then they're also like spending lots and lots of money on Postmates and not eating well, and just I see a lot of bad money decisions in animation. So at the time, everyone was basically like, maybe next time. We'll wait 3 years from now. We'll get them next time. Times are good. We all have jobs. Things are fine.
Things are great. Strike. Come on, we don't need to do that.
And basically just too scared, too bad with their money to be able to strike. So I was like, I don't know, I'm going to vote to strike because I have absolutely nothing to lose. I paid off all my student loans. I am financially capable of striking. And if it helps our situation, our contracts, because people say, oh, you can technically negotiate your own contract. You're not beholden to the guild standard. You're kind of beholden to the guild standard. Come on. The studio's not going to pay you more than the guild standard. Unless you are like the golden child of the year.
Yeah.
Because there'll be another golden child next year. So I was like, I'm gonna vote to strike. I'm gonna like go out there and like picket and like
do the thing.
And then my hopes got shot down, and we didn't. And I read up a lot about it and how like they treated the last time animation people went out and striked. I think back in the 80s, I believe.
Yeah. So and then the studios basically outsourced all the people. Outsourced the jobs of all the people who strike. So just goes to show you the studios are prepared for anything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about like that's the reason why we shouldn't strike, because they're just gonna ship our jobs and someone else is gonna take them.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that's such a defeatist argument because they could do that
anyways.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that. Like you don't even need a strike. They could do that whenever they damn please.
Yeah. We're thinking 2021. Times aren't so good anymore. You have nothing to lose. If you strike and you lose, you
explain
lost.
To people the stakes.
Yeah. So like if you strike, you lose. Maybe you lose your job. Wait, your job's already gone. Okay, so you already lost. It doesn't hurt to strike, so maybe you might win.
Well, what does losing look like? Like really paint a picture. Like what does losing look like?
Losing looks like you lost your job because they consider you a disloyal troublemaker. Or they ship your job out overseas and you lost your job. Or you don't strike and you lose your job anyways because of who knows what. Like you literally have absolutely nothing to lose. And if you do have your job and you're clutching so like dearly to it as if your life depends on it, that says a lot to me. Because like last time, it really opened my eyes to like what people are willing to put on the line. When your job is on the line, when your principles are put into question, do people stand up for themselves? No. Absolutely not. Which is ironic because I know a lot of people in animation protested and were great activists during the summertime.
Very stunning.
Yeah.
Very brave.
During the BLM stuff, which I really don't care. To each their own. Great. Cool. The problem is, you're so like quote unquote brave during this time when it really doesn't matter to you. It really doesn't concern you. It doesn't affect you in any real way.
Oh, of course it does. How are they supposed to get followers? How are they supposed to get likes? What are you talking about? Of course this affects them.
But then, like, when it comes to, like, actually, protesting and doing something to stand up for your job, you might lose your job in animation. Nothing. Crickets. Absolutely nothing. So my prediction is when the guild negotiations come about in August, I believe, nothing's gonna happen.
You will be paid a third less for the same amount of work that you do.
Yeah.
That's just the what I think the animation people are going to tolerate.
Yeah, in terms of like, our wages are stagnant because, you know, when you negotiate, you have to also take into consideration like inflation and wage increases year after year. The thing is, I feel like it's not being kept up pace with inflation. And on top of that, $600 stimulus checks. That means lots more inflation, like rapid inflation. So yeah, our wages aren't not only stagnant, in my opinion, they're decreasing in terms of like value of what we can actually do with that money.
What about loyalty? What about loyalty? You know what I have to think about loyalty? What happened with the loyalty when Universal and DreamWorks had to merge and laid off all the really old talented artists?
Oh man.
What happened to that loyalty? So if you're thinking that like, oh, I have really good friends who are executives and all this shit,
They'll take care of me.
they'll take care of me, I'll be fine. You are wrong. You are dead fucking wrong. And like I saw that when I saw all those really talented people get laid off. I'm like, okay, that's what I have to look forward to. Like you showed me exactly like what I needed to see when I saw that happen. So anybody clutching on to loyalty, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
And you know,
and like it sucks because we're gonna strike while Hollywood is down, while Hollywood is suffering. We're gonna beat them while they're down.
yeah, I can imagine.
Why would we do that?
I could already imagine like their comeback, because any kind of wage negotiation is very similar to like asking for a raise, and any kind of negotiation. And I feel like I'm a lot better at negotiations than a lot of my peers, other millennials, basically. I don't think I'm that great compared to like my dad.
Your dad's like,
for example.
He's Godzilla.
But I have learned a few things from him, and which is why I tend to get paid a lot better than a lot of people.
Janet gets paid more than me back then. Yeah, man, easily. Janet knows how to negotiate.
And so to put things in perspective, when I was little, I would observe my dad playing really dirty games with...
Did we explain this in a podcast yet?
No.
Oh, this is the time.
Yeah.
It's time. Okay.
So when I was little, my dad likes electronics. He loves computers. He loves tech. He loves all this stuff. He would go into a Best Buy trying to negotiate with the workers for discounts. And I witnessed the most like savage negotiation skills. He would go in there.
So paint a picture. You really painted a picture for me.
Yeah. So he would go in there, and I'm like, I want to say like maybe 8 years old or so. I'd go in there with him, and he'd have this coupon ready, like a Best Buy coupon or Staples coupon, whatever. And it's like, 50% off one item or whatever. But the problem is, he'd show it to me. He's not very good at English, so he would like show it to me and be like, tell me like what it says. So I'm like, it says you get 50% off, but in the fine print it expired. This coupon expired. And then he was like, okay, that's fine. And then I'm like, okay. Like I had no idea what he was gonna do. So he goes in and he wants to buy this thing, and he like calls like a salesperson over, and he's trying to check out, and he's like, so I want to use this coupon. And then like, you know, he has an accent and all this stuff, and
he's forcing it too.
Yeah,
come on, don't lie.
And the salesperson's like, I'm sorry, we can't use this coupon, it's expired. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna go look at the video
game
games.
section.
Yeah.
There we go.
And he's like, what do you mean?
Like faintly through the hall. What do you mean?
Yeah. What do you mean? I have the coupon. Use the coupon. And they're like, I'm sorry, sir. I can't use the coupon. It's like expired. And the salesperson's like, oh, like he doesn't understand. He's Chinese. Like, and I'm like, no, my dad understands. And he and then he'd get mad, like pretending to be mad. Honestly, he'd be like, no, use the coupon. I want to see your manager. So I call the manager over, and then like 30 minutes into it, I come back and I'm like, oh God, they're still arguing. And my dad at this point is like, okay, forget the coupon. Give me 25% off. And then they're like, we can't do that. It's not on sale. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you can do that for me. I know you can. And then I'm like, this is really embarrassing. I'm going to go look at the CDs. 30 more minutes. I'll come back in 30 more minutes. And then, like, finally, I think the manager, I don't know, has some kind of like manager discount, whatever. And then they're like, just give it to him. Make him go away.
Yeah.
So I come back, they're like, finally they're checking out. And
what does your dad end up with? Like 20% off?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Whatever.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Honestly, for something that's not on sale, he managed to negotiate at a big box store. Like, who does that? Yeah. And then, so he's like really upset, pretending to be.
And he's like, let's go.
Yeah. So he has a receipt. I'm walking with him, and then he like whispers to me, let's go. And I'm like, what? Okay. And he rushes me and him out the door, and the minute we're in the parking lot, he has like the biggest smile. Yeah. He's like faking it this whole time, just like yelling. Everyone's looking at him.
The time invested, the hour spent.
And I was like, God.
This is the daughter of that man.
Yes.
And imagine this person walking into an interview with Disney.
Well, actually, before that, so I visited China once.
Okay.
And one of my favorite pastimes it was like for a month, was going to I want to say like the market, the indoor mall, I think, but it's like a mall where you can negotiate stuff. It's kind of like stalls and stuff.
Kind of like a swap meet.
Kind of, yeah. But it felt more like mall-like. I forgot exactly the name. But I went there, and like every single day, it became a game for me to negotiate with like Chinese people.
How long were you doing this
for? For like a month. So I was
That's
like
a lot of training.
Yeah. And my at first my dad would do it for me, but then like my Chinese isn't that great, but eventually after a month it gets better when you're like there. And eventually I would just do it myself and with my sister. But like I would watch it happen, and then I would imitate it eventually. So like what happens is like, what foreigners don't understand is that the price in these markets are like 90% like too much. It's like way overpriced. Like if you translated the Chinese dollar, whatever they're using, to the American dollar, it would be like, let's say $10 for like a shirt or something, or pants or whatever.
Okay.
The problem is $10 American dollars for pants that are made in China, being sold in China. That's like, it actually costs, like, for them to turn a profit, they'd probably only need like $1. $1 American dollar. Like, they'd be happy with $1. But they're charging dumb foreigners $10 because they don't know any better. Because like us Americans will like do the math and like, oh, $10 for a shirt, that's not so bad. That's kind of like what I would pay.
Yeah.
We
A little bit less.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sounds great.
But actually, that's way overpriced. So I watched my uncle do it and I watched my dad do it. And what you do is you go in, you go like, I want that shirt. And how much is it? $10? I want it for $3. And you think it's an insult. And then they act insulted. They're really good at acting insulted. They're like, oh, how dare you? You foreign... Because if you're like American Chinese, they consider you a foreigner. They don't consider you Chinese. So they're like, you foreigner, that's so insulting. How dare you? But really, honestly, in their heart, they're like, I'm totally gonna like screw them.
Yeah.
and then you're like, no, I want it for $3. You have to be confident about it. Otherwise, they can smell fear. And so like they're like, no, okay, how about $7? And you're like, no, $4. And then like it's this dance until eventually it's almost like you get into a shouting match. And then
Does it ever feel personal at all?
It feels personal, but it's not. It's not, yeah. So
really it feels like you're yelling, hey!
Yeah.
Wow.
For a shirt. Honestly, it was really fun for me, but like it's a lot of work. And so eventually maybe you finally like, no, I want it for $4. I'm not budging. And then they're like, no, I'm not budging. So what you do is you walk away. And
I think walking away is like, it's the trump card. You
Yeah.
gotta be very careful when you use that one. You don't want to do it too early. You don't want to do it too late.
Yeah.
You know?
So you walk away, and this is the funniest part, and this is so telling of people, humans in general. They go like, hey, come back. They don't say, I'm sorry, you get your $4 shirt. They will never say, I'm sorry. They will never say, okay, I concede. They'll just be like, come back. And that's, if, like, at first I didn't know that. So I just keep walking. I thought, like, oh, I just lost.
Oh, you failed. Yeah.
But actually, they're like, no, come back. We're going to sell this to you. And then they lost, you won, you get your cheap shirt, whatever. But honestly, like, when you walk away, when you're not looking, they're like so happy. They're like, yes, I made a sale. Because they honestly did make a profit. And it's honestly, in my opinion, really fun for everyone. So I had like an entire month of doing that.
So the daughter of that man and the girl who trained in the Chinese markets, this is the person walking into the Disney and DreamWorks interviews. And like they think like, oh, this little one, she doesn't do her homework.
Yeah.
Let's like under fucking pay her.
Yeah. And I'm like, no.
No.
I know what I'm worth. I'm only gonna walk out that door. And even if I'm bluffing, then you win. But you're not gonna be able to tell if I'm bluffing. And most of the time, I'm not. Because I don't like to take risks like that. And I know, like, hey, I can make a lot more money freelancing. I don't need you. And like when people say like, oh, you need to like be really forthcoming, you have to be like, oh, I'm so excited to work on this show or whatever. There's an aspect of that, yes, obviously. But if you're too much like that, you're gonna come across really green. And not only that, you're gonna come across like, oh, we can fuck this guy or woman, and
whoever.
Yeah, whoever. And I'm sorry, but like I'd rather be a dick in that situation.
Would you rather get fucked?
You want to get paid?
You want to get fucked by the industry, or do you want to be a dick?
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. The more you know.
The more you know. But yeah. Learn negotiation skills.
There's an advantage to being the bad guy. You know, especially when it comes to like getting paid what you're worth. I had a friend who like in theme park design who would apologize after negotiations and we're like, I'm sorry, I had to play hardball there or whatever.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, he's really good at negotiating, but he's so empathetic like that. I'm like, dude, you don't need to apologize. These fucking people, man. You know, like everyone should be doing that, and like they should. And but like, you don't need to apologize, you know.
Oh, that's the game. That's the game we all play. If you're apologizing to your employer who's trying to fuck you because it benefits them to like not pay you so much, I mean, you're gonna get walked all over. More updates on 2020,
And
which
predictions.
which will affect 2021 and our predictions. Wonder Woman came out during Christmas, I think, and in my opinion, it bombed. Well, it definitely bombed in the reviews, for one. But, you know, HBO Max and Warner Brothers think that it's a success because their projected numbers that they wanted to hit, they surpassed it. But the thing is, to me, financially, it looks like they're not going to make back the amount of money it took to produce it, like $200 million. I don't think they're even going to get close to $200 million. But it's not so good to expect that movies during a pandemic will match pre-pandemic times. So because of that, they're calling it a success. And they're like, oh, we're immediately greenlighting Wonder Woman 3. So I guess.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
I guess.
Who knows? Apparently it brought in a bunch of subscribers. So that, to me, tells me that, and this is our next prediction, that day one streaming for movies is going to become a norm. You think so?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this for 3 episodes now. I think it's like the Wonder Woman thing. It's not our conventional, you know, back in the 2019's idea of a successful movie.
Yeah.
But if the studios are saying, even fronting that they're happy, then, and greenlighting another movie, that just kind of shows confidence, you know. So it seems as though maybe they're not so happy with the way it performed, but they are happy with how it probably got so many people to use HBO Max.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, not a bad streaming service.
Yeah, and what we are predicting are that theaters are going to go the way of the dodo.
Yeah.
Because of that. It really seems like everyone was kind of looking at Wonder Woman 1984 as like a barometer for all of this. And according to Warner Brothers, we have no idea if any of this is true, but it just seems like they consider it a success. And that should scare you, because that means seems like that's what's going to happen going forward. So in terms of all the people who work in Hollywood, I'm interested to see what will happen to our jobs, your jobs.
There's a lot of designers who like design the sets and worlds for movies like Wonder Woman. It's you know, in our school they called it entertainment design. Mm-hmm. And there's entertainment arts, which is more of the animation centric stuff. And I just think about the time when Disney announced that they were going to make the Star Wars movie with J.J. Abrams. Like, it just felt like there were sci-fi movies just dripping, oozing everywhere. There's like Jupiter Ascending, and the new Star Wars movies are coming out, and Cloud Atlas, and all these crazy sci-fi worlds. And it seemed as though there was so much work for fantasy artists.
Yeah, these big, like, it requires so much money in order to hire, to make these kind of movies, because you do need to hire so many designers and artists and stuff like that. And so, I don't know how that will be with day one streaming.
Can we get a little doomer? Can I get a little doomery?
Yeah, you can.
Is that okay? Will you allow me to get a little doomery? Let me get a little doomery. With Wonder Woman, it's interesting to me because that is a movie that was made totally for the alternate dimension that did not have the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And in that dimension, Stranger Things recently just came out, and like, I mean back then Stranger Things already came out. Like, there was like, it seems as though the 80s thing was reaching its like peak. Mm-hmm. And then they delay Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman comes out now. And I mean, like I said in the previous podcast, I really like the first Wonder Woman, but like this new one, in this time where things look kind of bleak, like, don't lie.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we want to be strong and like put a good foot forward. for 2021, right? But like you gotta be a little realistic. Things are looking really shit.
Yeah.
And like looking at something so sugar pop and so visually in your face, and something that really belonged in the version of 2020 summer where we didn't have the pandemic.
Yeah.
You get it in fall where things look bleak. It's kind of like a slap in the face. It's kind of like, I kind of don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, the reason why I say that's really doomery is because I think that could just be me, you know? Like, for me, when I see something really that doesn't, it's hard for me to watch stuff like that. Especially the 80s shit right now. Like, that's like, it's over. Let's stop with the 80s thing. I did a VizDev portfolio about an 80s Bigfoot story, and that was when I first listened to King Gizzard in the apartment. So what was that?
Like
that was
2016.
2016. That was a long ass fucking time ago.
Yeah.
We need to stop with the 80s things. In fact, we need to stop with the whole resurrecting the past thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's 2020. It's like, it's the new decade. It's the new decade.
I would appreciate some like futurism.
Or something unusual. Something unusual.
Yeah.
Something that isn't like a nostalgia trip. Something weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it reminds me of like 80s movies, and like after in the 80s it makes sense for 80s movies to exist, and same with 70s movies. It makes sense why 70s movies were exactly the way they were, like Vietnam and all that stuff. So I'm like, I don't think like when we're seeing so much violence and stuff every single day,
arguing on the internet, shouting matches, people bobbing and weaving in the freeway, people yelling at each other in public,
and like
videos of people screaming at people
for,
just trying to eat or whatever
for no reason.
And it's kind of a slap in the face to watch something like Wonder Woman. In my opinion, my bleak little opinion.
Like, there's two things that I think people want. I think they want reprieve from all the chaos. They want like some way to like escapism. And I think, but at the same time, they want reality, at least some semblance of like, you get me, like, you know,
you understand my problem.
You understand here. The plight of humanity. I feel like my problems
right
are lifted a little bit.
Yeah, and like, as much as like you want to escape watching a wonderful like just adventure with Wonder Woman, it's kind of not what you need right now. You kind of want to watch a more introspective movie. Like it, as you know, it's just there's a time and place. And like, boy, was like the past like 5 years the time for that kind of stuff.
What the difference between like 1984 Wonder Woman 1984 is that you can argue in a way it is escapism. I'm like, no, it's not. It's based on realism, but it's so sugary and pop, it's a little bit like an insult. Whereas like Animal Crossing is escapism. Animal Crossing is like, you're trying to escape, you're trying to comfort yourself, it's a reprieve. Wonder Woman 1984 is just like, look, things are so great, or they used to be so great. I'm like, whoa, that's not really what people want to be reminded of, that things used to be great. That's kind of a sad reminder.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, oh, all those scenes where like, you know, people are living normal lives. Even in the trailer, I'm like, yikes, that's fucking annoying to watch. You know, it's just like, I want that so bad while I'm sitting at home while the government tells me I gotta not, I'm locked down. Still, I can't go to the gym. Man, we couldn't go to the gym. So we brought the gym to us.
Yeah, we got a home gym.
We're
so sore.
We were so sore. I was the sorest.
But yeah, we're planning for the long term.
Yeah.
So now, to lighten the mood a little bit, we're going to talk about our New Year's resolutions.
Yay. I'll start, I guess. Mine is a very simple one. Yeah. It's the most simplest one I've ever had. And it's simply, do it with me, to breathe. It's simply to breathe more. And I think there was a lot of times where people want to like, oh, this year I'm going to try to be more patient. This year I'm going to try to think things through before I make decisions, or all of those kinds of things. I'm gonna be in control or whatever. I think breathing, if you breathe well and you're giving your brain enough oxygen, I feel like a lot of those problems that you have, anxieties you have, will probably, or should theoretically, disappear. So I'm trying to breathe more. So I even catch myself too when I'm like really, really thinking hard for work or whatever it is. I don't breathe enough. I have really shallow breaths. So lately I've been catching myself have shallow breaths, and I just stop whatever I'm doing, and it's always when I'm like thinking really hard or overthinking, and I stop, I go and like I've been doing that for the past couple days, and like I feel really good, and like I just want to keep this streak of like, if every day and it feels like every day I have to remind myself to breathe. Like you have a problem drinking water, right? You literally have an app on your phone to remind you to drink water. I can't, there's no app that can remind me to breathe. I have to kind of just do that myself. So I've been really, really trying to catch myself when I'm having shallow breath and I'm trying to breathe. And that's my New Year's resolution. Very simple, but I think my life will improve because of that simple, small change.
I think so. You're such an anxious human being.
Yeah.
Actually.
We live, and then when the movie playing through our eyes ends, like, who knows what's going to happen. So I'm always really anxious.
More anxious than me, actually.
Yeah.
So my New Year's resolution is to be consistent. And I was thinking, technically I have a lot of New Year's resolutions, and they're all the typical ones, like lose weight and all this stuff. But I had recently read a bunch of self-help books, things like Loser Think and like Atomic Habits and
Power of Habit.
Power of Habit, and a lot of
Jocko's book. What's Jocko's book called?
Extreme Ownership.
Right. Yeah.
And I realized that it's all about systems, not goals. And this is something that I think I understood in college and all through my life, but it's not something I consciously just like put into action. I just knew to do this. So what that means is like, it's about what the process in which you put something in place to accomplish the thing you want. So like, if you want to lose weight, what do you have to do? You have to work out every day. So it's about being consistent, about keeping that streak of like how often, like just, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if you were able to like cross out that day on the calendar and went like, I did it at least for 10 minutes, but I still kept up that streak.
Yeah.
That's more important to losing weight, to getting to your end goal, than to just not do it altogether. So for me, I want to like work out every single day of this year.
She will do it.
I will.
She will fucking do it.
I don't say things.
I'm the one who's always like, babe, let's get hamburger. Let's get hamburger, babe.
Sometimes I get offended.
Oh.
I'm like, how dare you?
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I just really want hamburger.
But like, yeah, I want to be able to say by the end of the year, I worked out 365 days in a row. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Pretty intense, man.
Same thing with like my, I just want to be able to like put in some time every single day to work on this YouTube channel. And I already have done that for like an entire year.
I think your system for that is set.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this new system of trying to have a workout routine that you really enjoy at home, you're kind of still working out the kinks.
Yeah.
We have the new machine. You're not really sure how that fits into your routine. But I think in a month, you'll have an idea.
Yeah. That way you're not focusing on like the goal. You're just like, today, I'm just gonna do it for this length of time. I'm just gonna put in my time.
Right. When you have a goal, you're all like, especially when you're young, right? My goal is to become a great artist. So I want to be a great artist. I think, and with that comes a lot of stress, anxiety, insecurity, right? And I think it's a lot more helpful to think, if I do something a little bit, just for 30 minutes every day, I will become better. And you have to believe it too, right? You have to believe your system has to work, because it's like, you have to know that like, if you put in the time, you'll get a little bit better every day. And I think what I've been noticing is I really enjoy our runs in the morning.
Yeah.
I always think in the because I've been writing a lot of music and stuff. I was thinking like, I just want to like put everything aside and just want to focus on that. But then I tell you, okay, babe, I'm not gonna work out with you tomorrow morning. I don't wanna. And you never force me. In this relationship, you never like force me like oh you you did it bad. Like no, like you. And I'm like always okay. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Okay. And then in the morning, I'm like thinking like, oh, I could like get a head start, or I could feel so good.
Yeah.
After I run. And mind you, I'm not even like running really hard. I just really like my run. Listening to Tame Impala, and running and looking at the birds and the colors and getting a little bit of a sweat and like a runner's high. Like it's great.
Yeah.
And every single time I think I don't need it, like I need it, and it helps regulate everything.
Yeah.
It's just like the breathing thing I was talking about, like being able to exercise. Like, I don't really care about looking good. Like, who am I going to look good for?
And we're stuck here.
Yeah. I'm very, very, not impressed. What's the word? I'm just, like, shocked at how much it helps to take care of yourself. You know, how much it just focuses you and centers you.
Yeah, you can do everything better if you get a little bit of exercise in the morning. And
you've been stretching lately, too.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you've never exercised before... I think stretching is the first place to start.
Yeah, one of my goals, and I used to have my splits back when
I've been watching you slowly trying to get it.
And I want to get them again. Problem is, I've been sedentary for a very long time, and but I'm getting, I push myself a little bit too hard.
You do, man.
But yeah, I'm getting there. I will get it by the end of the year. I never had my center splits. But I would love to one day have that. But yeah, I stretch. Apparently, so I didn't believe this, but apparently, if you do a lot of yoga and you stretch a lot, you can actually grow taller.
Wow! Yeah, you told me this. Huh?
I was like, what? I want to be an inch taller. That'd be so cool. I don't like being so short. But yeah, to be consistent. And now, if you haven't made any good resolutions yet, we have some suggestions for you. My suggestion, and in a way I'm kind of stealing this from my high school English teacher, is to reinvent yourself. And the way he put it way back when, right before we graduated, he was like, you get very few chances in life to reinvent yourself, to become a better person, and to basically to change everything that you don't like about yourself and like become the thing you always wanted to be. And I was like, at the time I didn't really buy it. And even now I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. But it's, in a lot of ways, the way I like to see it is like, in the way Scott Adams would put it, you being yourself is kind of overrated. Because if you're yourself, it's fine and all, but you're not bettering yourself. You should want to change yourself. You should want to be a better version of yourself. And that's how I kind of saw it. Like, if you are, let's say, out of shape nerd, why not become a buff nerd? Like, that's like supremely better, isn't it? And it's not that different. You're still yourself. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, you're not compromising anything.
Yeah.
Who you are as a person. You just want to like incrementally feel good about yourself, man.
Yeah.
Like truly go like, damn, I did that.
Yeah.
And it always sucks at first.
Yeah.
Like, no lie, it always sucks at first. But then, you complain about it for the first few weeks, and then when you see results, you just get really addicted to it.
Yeah, 2021, the world is changing.
Yeah.
Might as well change who you are too.
Right, exactly. And if you also need help, my resolution for you, if you haven't thought of one yet, is who is Tomo Fujita?
He is a Berkeley music teacher.
Yes.
Yes.
Who is the famous person he taught?
John Mayer.
What would Tomo Fujita always say to his students who always ask, how many scales should I do? How many songs, how many jazz standards should I learn? How much time how much time should I practice? You know what would he say?
He would say, always, how much? How many? That's the wrong question. It's, you need to be kind to yourself. Yeah, be kind to yourself. He would say it's always like exactly like what you said. It's always about how much you need to do. It's about enjoying the thing and being kind to yourself. Yeah.
Because I think this isn't my New Year's resolution, but it was. Being kind to myself was my New Year's resolution 2017. Because or just bettering myself, I guess, was more accurate. And it was simply just like, okay, I'm gonna because it was a very confusing time. I'm gonna figure out what the hell is going on here. I'm going to get in the best shape I've ever gotten in my life. I'm gonna eat healthy for the first fucking time in my life, and just to see, and I learned so much. I learned that oh my God, you get so much energy when you exercise. I learned so much about life and how eating healthy and all that stuff that I used to be lame, I hate that shit, is okay, it's kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome. Yeah. So be kind to yourself. I think for the past 4 years, a lot of people just give too many shits about this or that or everything that just doesn't involve themselves. And I just want, if you don't have any New Year's resolution, if this sounds interesting to you, I want you to say it with me. Fuck everybody else. Fuck everybody else. Say it with me. Fuck everyone else. I'm gonna care for myself this year because I deserve it, because I'm a human being, and it's good to care for other people, but if you don't even know how to take care of yourself, I don't think you know the first thing about taking care of other people. Yeah. How could you care for others when you don't even know how to deal with your own shit? Yeah. When you have so much festering, slimy, sludgy shit in your life that you just don't want to deal with, which is why you want to look for something else to care about. Yeah. Because you don't want to deal with your own bullshit.
So one of the reasons why I really believe in this too, I think I genuinely, even more than my New Year's resolutions to people, I really believe in this one, because I have recently discovered a Twitter account called Women Who Post Their L's Online. And reading through that, it's really cringe. In a way, really hilariously dark. But it just made me go ooh, why? Why do women do this? And I was it's not just women. Honestly, it's men too. But I want to say I've seen a lot of women do this.
And do you remember what I said immediately when you told me this?
No, I don't remember.
I said... And it was New Year's too. We need to look at animation Twitter right now.
And then, so we looked, and almost all the women unanimously just occasionally just post their L's online. And I was oh God, why? Why?
And then when you discover that this is a thing that ladies do, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. You see it everywhere. And so,
and it's why do you share your L's, and we thought, okay, maybe because somehow in a weird way it could seem empowering, right,
or relatable or whatever. Yeah. But it just doesn't come across that way. No. You can be oh, this anecdotally, this happened to me and it really helped me, so I recommend this for you because it helped me, so maybe I can be an inspirational story for you. Right. It's never worded that way. It's always really cringe, that is a really dark part of your life that I wish I did not see.
Oh my God.
And I was kind of trying to empathize. I was okay, why do women do this? because I don't do it. I don't have time.
And we talked about how like why men don't do this.
Yeah,
Because like try to fucking ask a man to fucking put a competent thought on Twitter. It's like pulling teeth. Most of the comments you see on Twitter from males are like just some weird guttural nonsense.
Yeah. We were saying men typically post the stupidest things. I'm sorry.
For sure.
Like, you're kind of dumb. Accidentally or whatever. Not all the time. Women can do it too. But, like, in general, men typically post really dumb stuff. Women typically post their L's.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, I'm trying to empathize because I'm sure we've all done it.
Yes.
At one point.
We all have. What I did when I was 13
Yes.
on MySpace.
And I was like, oh, okay.
On my blurbs.
Yeah.
I hate everyone. I basically like steal lyrics from Linkin Park. And like, yeah, it's my life.
My girlfriend broke up with me.
Angst.
But it's like, we know you're sad. But just okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, okay, we all have that cringy period of time in like high school, let's say, where you kind of vent on Facebook, let's say, or whatever. You like post your L's online because I don't know.
Like, ha ha ha. I'm so it's basically to all the people who don't know what posting an L is. What is posting an L?
Like being a little bit too honest about
your fuck ups, basically.
Yeah, right? A bad thing that you kind of is your fault.
So here's the question I propose to all the ladies who post L's online. As someone who reads your L, one has two options, right? Mm-hmm. One has to either say, "Oh, darling, you're great.
Yeah.
You're don't fucking worry, you're fine."
Yeah.
And then the other half of people are going to be like, "Oh, look at that. You're a fucking idiot. I knew it." So I don't know. I don't know what's more important to you. Getting patted on the head by your buddies, mm-hmm. or your self-respect. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So for me, the reason why it was so dark, in my opinion, was just like, don't do that to yourself. Come on. So I have this thing where I was talking to one of our friends, and like I hate parties, but not for the reason you think. I don't like watching people get into bad situations knowingly or just have like lack of self-respect for themselves. I kind of want to be like, you're better than this.
Oh God. Like, you're such like, man, you need to be shooed at a party.
Yeah.
We want to make bad decisions. Parties are where bad decisions are made.
I don't like it when people make bad decisions. I go like, oh God.
You kiss somebody, and then all of a sudden you have something in your lips.
Oh no.
And you're like, bad decision.
I'm just like, oh, please, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself, please. So I look at these, I'm like, women and men. Some men do this too, and I don't know why.
Bro.
Don't do this. Even the ones I dislike, like all the people I dislike, and I genuinely like, be kind to yourself. Yeah. Stop posting your L's online. Treat yourself a little bit better. Come on. I like this phrase a lot, and I remind myself all the time. You are you, and you are doing the absolute best job being you as you can.
Will you tell the story?
Yeah. So that? You were petting Biscuit.
Little Biscuit.
Yeah, and he's a little bit annoying.
Not a little bit. He's really
a lot annoying.
Yeah.
And you were like, good job, Biscuit. Good job. And I'm like, why are you telling him good job? What did he do to deserve good job?
And you're like really like angry. Like Tiger Mom, like, why are you telling him good job? Yeah. He doesn't deserve to be told good job.
And then you were like, Biscuit's doing a good job being Biscuit. And I was like, that's true. He is doing a good job being Biscuit. And we're all doing a good job being ourselves.
Yeah, and that's the most you could hope for.
Yeah, that's the most you can do.
That's the most you could hope. And you know what's even better? Trying to make yourself a little bit better every day. Like, what's so tough about that?
Yeah.
Come on. Once, this is the year, right? The whole, like you said, the whole world is changing. Time for change. A little bit of a change.
But
Come
also,
on.
like, don't be negative about yourself online where everyone can see. Like, if anything, just
not everyone is as polite as you think when you post your album. You know what I mean? We're just not like we're not gonna say it.
Just
but we're showing it to everybody.
Try, saying something positive so that even if you don't believe it, maybe it will come true. Instead of saying something negative, maybe that will come true too. You never know. So instead, say something positive about yourself. Come on.
Yeah, I have this philosophy when it comes to drawing and making any kind of art, that what kind of energy you sit down with is the energy you put into your art. And then it kind of, there's no better example of that than when you draw with a Sharpie. If you're tense, if your muscles are tense, if you're having a shitty day, it's going to show. If you, and like, for example, when I'm sure people who are soloists, when they're like practicing their soloing skills, there's some days where they have it and days where like, oh, bad day at work or something like that, and they just don't have it. And I think it's cool. I think lots of people think it's so fucking cool to be fucking negative. Like, ooh. And like, we're negative to it, but in a very like realistic way. We're not like telling you like 2021 is going to be is going to be as bad as 2020. We don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going around, and like as easy as it is for anyone's pessimism to accept that could be a thing, well, you don't know.
Yeah.
It could be, it could be like the beginning of something really awesome. You don't know.
Yeah.
But I think when people are really negative to like be cool and putting themselves down because they think it's fucking cool, it's like, you just look like an ass.
Yeah.
I think you simply just look like an ass. You look like an ass with no self-confidence and self-respect, and I don't really feel sorry for you when you're posting your L's.
I do. I feel sorry.
I don't. Because it's like, if you shouldn't be posting your L's in the first place.
I know, like, oh god, you need some self-love in your life. I don't know.
Also, can we talk that people... You should say it.
What?
You know what people need?
Oh.
We don't have to.
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's so inappropriate.
But people need it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
No, they don't know. They don't know.
You know what I mean. You need it.
No,
You really, really do need it. I see all of you. I see you barely talking to your spouses.
Oh, God.
Come on. Light that fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. We haven't made love in months. I know times are really hard, but it's time to rekindle our love. Come on.
Yeah.
This year's the year. This year's the year you're gonna rekindle your love. That's another like resolution for you. If you think that like, man, you two have been so fucking distracted about how shitty life has been for the past couple months, couple years. Well, fuck it. You have each other. At least you got that.
Yeah.
So celebrate that. I think that's really awesome. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
For an hour every week.
Yeah.
Celebrate that for an hour every week. You know what I mean. Like, really celebrate. Because I really think, like, man, there's so many people who are so uptight.
Yeah.
You know?
Truly,
come on.
Like, I feel like the other month I realized that, like, oh, I'm a hippie. And
we both are kind of hippies,
we're both hippies.
We're like 2020 hippies.
Yeah.
You know?
We're like, if you took the flower child hippie,
it's like, it's more like, leave me the fuck alone and I'll leave you fuck alone.
Hippie.
That's the new type of hippie. Peace, fuck you, but peace.
Peace and love, man.
Yeah, peace and love, man, but leave me alone.
And like, I realize we believe everything the typical hippie is, except we don't look like it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, are we the 2020 hippies? Because like, truly, like what you're saying, free love, man.
Yeah, man.
I think the reason why they were like so chill, that's part of the reason. So I mean, it helps.
It helps. And it's just like, simply put, I just want to celebrate your life. You know, I know it sounds so corny. I'm sorry. But celebrate your life. You're like, every time I say this almost every episode now, because like I remember you told me that the first time I said like, I think about dying all the time. It's like my pet thing to think about. Like I love pondering what is beyond the realm of our existence. And then I love that there was this young kid who commented and was like, wow, I never thought of life that way. And I was like, bro, I came up with that thought when I was 4 years old. My dude, I've been thinking about this for a very long time, and it's shocking that no one takes their lives into consideration. Even like Steven Silver was talking about this too. You remember that video?
No.
Well, Steven Silver was talking about, like, it seems so morbid, but like he said something like, you need to think about like your life and like live like if you were to die, like your thing.
Yeah.
If like your thing, what was it like? If you were to die tomorrow, would you really make the same decisions?
Yeah. That you will today.
Right.
Yeah.
Silver said something like that, and I was like, right on, bro.
Yeah.
Right on. And I was like, I like when we went to Santa Barbara to pick up the Hofner bass, it was just like heaven to play.
Yeah.
I saw so many people driving recklessly.
Oh yeah.
So many people
yeah.
bobbing, and I have been driving in California for 8 years now, it seems. And like reckless we are, yes. But never in my life have I seen
like that
recklessness like that, like swerving. And this is like 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Swerving like you only see
like
in
you're
like
drunk.
The Sunset Strip at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That kind of swerving.
When there's no one
no one there, and the popo is like hiding under the bridge, and they're like whoop whoop, and then you're like fuck, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But like I've never seen so much disregard, not only for other people's lives, but just for one's own life.
Yeah.
Just like, how about 2021, we give ourselves a lot of love. And if we are sharing our lives with someone else, we take the time to appreciate that person and make love to them for an hour every week. I'm telling you guys, it does wonders. I'm sorry for being inappropriate, but like, I went on animation Twitter and I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that rude to say? But I really think like I want everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I want everyone to be happy. And like I just know what makes me happy. And exercise, eating healthy, doing all these things that we've been talking about like helps. And I just observe other people, and they don't even do or attempt to do like some of the things we try to do. I see people trying in animation all the time.
Yeah.
But I see people who just totally don't and think everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really frees you, doesn't it? When you go like, man, tomorrow might never come.
Yeah.
So, do I want to eat this cake? Hell yeah. Or no. Like, it works both ways. Like, sometimes when I really like, am a little bit too strict with myself, let's say, I'm like, oh, I really want to eat that cake. And I'm like, well, tomorrow might never come. Do I still want to eat it? Yes. Or if I'm like, I am a little lazy right now, but I know I should be working on a YouTube video. If tomorrow never comes, okay, maybe I should work on that YouTube video. So it works in like every situation, and it's freeing.
It's a barometer to like what you won't regret.
Yeah.
You know? I always think about this is so dark. I'm sorry. I think about this all the time though. I'm sorry. But I think about when I'm on my deathbed. What am I going to regret? And it's like, and like everyone who works in Hollywood, you've seen this beat in movies all the time where like the person like, oh, you want like in Inception, you old man living with regret. You want to be an old man living with regret. You see this theme of like someone about to pass and them recalling the life that they lived. It's like a trope you see in movies and all sorts of pop culture and all this stuff. And you see typically that they're like, oh, I regret not being kinder to my wife. I regret not doing this or that. I regret not being, in the case of There Will Be Blood, I regret everything, basically. Is that movie? I regret everything. But I always think about like, if you really, all of these people in animation, all the creative people, period. Really put yourself and use all your creative horsepower and put yourself on the last moment of your life. What do you think you'll regret? Do you regret not loving the other person enough? Do you regret this or that? You know, there are things that like I can live with.
Yeah.
That I'm honestly like, that kind of sucks in my life, but I can live with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff that like I had to like go, oh fuck, I need to face that head on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think the more scared you are to do something,
That's the indicator of like you should do that
you
thing.
should probably
You
do
should
that
probably
thing.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the recommendation of this week. And I actually watched this movie a while ago, and I recommend Boogie Nights by
Nights,
PTA.
Yes. Young PTA.
Yes. And I fell in love with this movie.
You were smitten with it immediately.
Yeah.
I was like fooling around with my drum machine. I wasn't really watching, but you were watching. I haven't seen it, but I would like look up occasionally.
And I really recommend every single person watch this movie. And
But especially for who?
animation students or people who want to work in Hollywood. You don't have to necessarily be into animation.
You could want to be an actor.
Yeah.
You could want to be screenwriter, director, whatever.
I think this movie is PTA's like tantrum about Hollywood. And I have noticed after watching a whole lot of movies that I think almost every good director has one of these movies. Has like it's basically their Why I Quit Disney video.
But you say all the time that they're always really good at masking it. Yeah.
Because Hollywood, I think, would never greenlight a movie that makes fun of themselves.
So blatantly.
Yeah.
Right.
So every single one of these movies have to kind of like make it about something else. So Boogie Nights is kind of about the porn industry. The problem is, the way I see it, it's actually making the porn industry look good and making Hollywood look really bad.
Like, even though it's set in this backdrop, it's sort of like a red herring.
Yeah. And
it's basically the relationships and hang-ups that Hollywood people have with each other, their families, who they think is family, who they ostracize, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all about the relationships, and it's just using the porn industry as like, oh no, this isn't about Hollywood. This totally is about porn.
Yeah.
See?
And so when you told me this is PTA's like early movie, I was like, wow, he is very, very good. I really like PTA as a director. He also did The Phantom Thread.
And There Will Be Blood.
And if this was his early movie, I could tell that he would become who he would become eventually.
That is a mighty movie. That is a really cool movie to watch.
Boogie Nights?
Boogie Nights, yeah.
Because it's a little rough around the edges for like an early director's movie, but so much is already there. So I was doing film studies and I was like, oh, just the opening. There's so much told in the shot choices and the lens choices and the filter.
Can you do
choices.
your best to like give us a picture of what you learned, especially in the opening at least?
So, spoiler alert, but not really because it's the opening. The porn director goes into the back kitchen of a nightclub to meet this boy man who he wants to recruit, basically. And the way it is introduced, you don't know the director is a director yet. So it's kind of in a way in the perspective of the main character. Mark Wahlberg plays him. And it's shot with handheld when you first meet the director. So it gives a feeling of like unease and realism and stark coldness. It's not. It's kind of like standoffish a little bit. It's that kind of feel is a little bit similar to like TV crime dramas, let's say. And
immediately when the director goes, "You know who I am," and then Mark Wahlberg's character goes, "Oh yeah, I know who you are," suddenly the depth of field becomes shallow. And when you do that, the shot looks dreamier. And that says so much. That, like, in the perspective of Mark Wahlberg's character, who's like a teenager, I think, he realized he's talking to this director. And he is suddenly like, oh, it's a director.
Yeah, it's like if you were at CTN and you're like, oh, Alex Hirsch. Oh, and then like, what kind of depth of field is it?
It's like probably like a 2.
Yeah.
Aperture.
Yeah.
2. 2 stop. And it does this all the time. So like there's a party scene very similar to these Hollywood parties. And so you wouldn't know this unless you worked with cameras before, but there are different lens filter things that can do certain things. So I forgot what it is. I think it's like a polarizing lens, the one that like emphasizes the glow of a light in a shot. It makes it look a lot more like bright and glowy. So the effect is it's really, really dreamy like.
Oh, is that thing that like you see on De Palma stuff all the time? That really hazy.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. But when De Palma uses it, I hate it because he uses it all the time.
Yeah.
But usually people use it for like highlighting a moment, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I forgot what was the scene right before it, but when it cut to the party scene, I immediately noticed like, oh, a lens doesn't do that. They put a filter on it to make the lights of this outdoor pool party scene, like really glow and have this like summery dreamscape kind of look, very nostalgic. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to say just with the setup of this shot. You're trying to say like, in Mark Wahlberg's character's perspective, this is his first Hollywood porn party, and it feels a certain way. It feels, and I knew every single scene. I was like, this is totally about Hollywood. This is what it feels like to go to your first Hollywood party. It feels a little bit like surreal and like dreamy, and like the lights are just like, everything is just so beautiful, and like you're dazzled, you're just so starstruck about everything.
Yeah, so I think when I was looking up to watch the movie, I could already tell like what the story kind of was. It was like, and I had to explain this to you because there's a very like obvious, not at least obvious to me, nod to it because you're not religious.
Yeah.
I had to explain to you the parable of the oh my god, the prodigal son, right? So I told you, son says fuck you dad, leaves, and then gets into all sorts of hedonism and trouble, ends up broke and all this stuff, and he comes back and he's like ashamed of it because he's afraid that like his dad's gonna shame him and all this shit, and his dad's like, you know, come back, like, oh, don't worry, all that stuff. And it's just like, you could tell this movie is like this weird play on the prodigal son story, because there's so many parallels with this twisted story with every single motherfucker who works in Hollywood. Every single motherfucker went beat for beat Mark Wahlberg's story.
Yeah, so spoiler alert now, because I want to talk about the movie.
But please watch the movie, especially if you don't know anything about Hollywood. Just like, sure, and the movie is very tongue-in-cheek about how it's about porn, but like, remember, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. It's totally not like what the movie is about.
So Mark Wahlberg's character, how he gets into the porn industry is like everyone in Hollywood. Everyone in animation. So like and
I guarantee you, Jimmy Kimmel, like just like every fucking famous person you could think of, Jimmy Fallon, James Corden, like all these people, everyone has had this moment. From what I've observed and from my friends and from like, no disrespect to them or whatever, but like honestly, this is your life.
like, so you see him come home from like his nightclub job, and like the set paints a picture of who these people are. He's like middle class suburban family, very idyllic, and he has like this mom who's like, for some reason, just on him all the time. Just like, where have you been? Who have you been with? Whatever. But at the end of the day, his life doesn't have any reason to be. It's not bad. It's just, normal, average life.
Yeah.
And then one day, his mom, for some reason, has had enough, and she's just like.
And she's heard all these hijinks that her son has been up to.
Which is not much. He's just like.
Flirting around and stuff.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're never going to be anything. You think you're going to be an actor? You're never going to be anything. What do you think you are? You need to go to school. You need to get a job. You need to, be normal.
And Mark Wahlberg, I must say, very good actor.
Very good.
When he was young.
Yeah.
Goes like teetering between truly acting upset and sad and parody.
Yeah.
That face of like, fuck you, Mom. I'm gonna show you, Mom. I'm gonna go to the show business and make some of myself. That type of shit. Yeah. And it's like Mark Wahlberg delivering like he has kind of never delivered since.
It's important that it's kind of parody.
Yeah. It doesn't feel serious.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a joke.
Yeah. Like PTA sees it as a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, but like it's played straight.
Yeah.
Like it was a comedy.
Yeah. And so he's like, you don't know, I'm gonna be someone one day.
I can imagine like Jimmy Kimmel just going, fuck you, Mom and Dad, I'm gonna be famous. Or it doesn't even have to be Mom and Dad. It could be like your buddies at school or a teacher you don't like.
Yeah.
There's always someone who, like the parable of the Hollywood person is someone tells them, you'll never make it in show business. You'll never make it in show business. You're gonna be a bum. Yeah. And then they go, fuck you, I'm gonna go to Hollywood and make it. And then you post all these pictures about like, oh, I'm in front of Disney, I'm in front of Warner Brothers, I'm in front of Universal Studios. See, I'm making it. Meanwhile, you're working a job in NoHo as a barista or whatever. But taking every single fucking moment you can to study your fucking lines, write that script, take all these fucking CDA and schoolism classes and just fucking break in.
Yeah.
That's your fucking life. That is your fucking life. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That is your life. And it's so tragic and sad that it's the same across the board.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're an actor. Doesn't matter if you want to be a PA who wants to be a producer someday. Doesn't matter if you're a grip who wants to be a director someday. Doesn't matter if you're a revisionist who wants to be a big animation director someday. Yeah. It's the same story. And when I saw, and spoilers alert for this is a big spoiler, when I saw there's a shot of like, obviously in this story, there's the beat of where Mark Wahlberg is like, oh, all things are lost. Yeah. I can't get it up even. And like things are just bad. Mm-hmm. And like, I need to release, I need to reconcile, I need to like make peace with something. Yeah. And then like, at this point, Mark Wahlberg says fuck you to the director who he really liked to work with, but creative differences. Truly creative in the most Hollywood way. Creative differences, usually involving coke, and then it's set up like you think he's gonna go home, and like even to the point where the figure walking in when Mark Wahlberg is like coming in and into the scene and he's all like distraught and stuff, you think it's his parent or something, but in fact he's holding and hugging like it's his father, the porn director. And it's just like, well, would you look at that? Isn't that everyone in Hollywood?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that everyone in Hollywood?
There are certain things about this movie that PTA's sharp observation, because he wrote it too. He wrote and directed it. Yeah.
Damn.
It's just so accurate. But it's not something you would know unless you've worked in it. Yeah. And so like, again, the story sets it up as like Mark Wahlberg is some like suburban kid and is seduced by Hollywood. It's like he's gonna be a star. It's dreamy.
Oh, and there's the amazing scene where the director is in the coffee shop, and he's like, it takes a lot of money to make these productions. Yeah. You love that scene. Explain. Yeah.
So like as he's being seduced, like the director takes him out to lunch, and the director is telling him, so these productions, they take a lot of money to make. They're really serious. And he's like, what? Really? Wow. And then the director's like, yeah, like, it takes like $25,000,
And he's like, that's a lot of money.
He's like, yeah, it is a lot of money. So like, this is serious. Like, this is... I'm like...
And like, how many... I cannot count with my fingers how many times I've had that kind of meeting with a freelance thing or like a thing, and I'm just like,
That's exactly how that is.
Yeah.
It's so funny because like when you work, you start to realize, oh no.
Especially, it's like this is our mobile game, right? That type of shit. It's like, this is a big deal. Like we're getting like we're reaching the charts in the Apple Store or something.
But like when you're actually making a movie, you start realizing like, this is no different from my student film. This is, if you shot a movie or shot anything really, you're like, this is just kind of like the same with a bigger budget, maybe a bigger team, whatever. It's not as like, wow, whole big Hollywood production. That's such a lie. And then by the end of the movie, when Mark Wahlberg's character is kind of washed up, he sees the director doing the exact same thing to a new young talent. And then I'm like, how accurate. How accurate.
Yes.
And he's like, he approaches and he's like kind of jealous. And I'm just like, that's also a thing.
Yeah, oh man. CTNs, we've seen that. Where like the old it person meets the new it person is kind of weird, and then you're like, oh shit, they're meeting each other. Oh damn.
And then so I told you about the whole shot language choice is a choice. It like depicts when you meet a director for the first time, what it feels like. When you go to a Hollywood party for the first time, what it feels like. When you win an award for the first time, what it feels like. And then also, though, what is so sharp, he depicts, after this whole dreaminess and the starstruckness, the mood changes immediately. And it goes into almost like family vibes, like slice of life family vibes. And it, like, if you watch any kind of coming of age movie, it's shot that way. And
but the bizarre thing is that your family is
your coworkers,
your coworkers, your job, your
director, your person you work with, and your co-stars. And so I was like, that is so accurate. Where like when Hollywood people come here to LA, they've basically like go, fuck you mom. They basically what's it called? Rejected their family, and their family
ostracized.
They were like, I am done with you. They come here, I'm gonna make it. So like they don't have good relationships with their family. Let's be honest. That's why they're here. And what happens then is you need to fill that void somehow. So that is why a whole lot of people in Hollywood and people in animation, they hang out with each other like their family. For Christmas, for New Year's, instead of visiting grandma, instead of visiting mom and dad, their mom and dad is their director, their sister is their coworker, and I was like, oh my god, this is so painfully accurate. And so like that sets up the scene when like he comes back after he's like washed up. Oh, it's so funny. When he's washed up, he's like the typical Hollywood actor who's washed up, that like, they're not good at singing, but like they decide, oh, maybe I'll use my fame for like a music career. And like
or vice versa.
Yeah.
You see actors who want to do music.
Yeah. Or musicians who want to be actors or whatever.
Yeah. Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Yes.
So after all that, he goes back. He's like, I'm sorry. And you think it's his dad, but then it's the director. And then they have this moment of like, they're all crying and hugging. Oh, the family's back together. And it's like when a family reconciles.
Yeah.
But it's the director.
Right. And it's so twisted in like such a dark, awesome way. It's like, ooh, this is everything. This movie is everything.
And then finally, like after they like, this is by the end of the movie, there's this famous scene that I love so much.
What is it?
The last
30 seconds?
Yeah.
Basically.
The last shot. Literally the last shot. Because
why do you explain? I want you to talk ad nauseum about this.
Okay.
Because we talked ad nauseum about it.
So
and relate it to Hollywood,
yeah,
like work and
so
stuff.
Mark Wahlberg comes back and he's gonna have his big comeback. Like he was like the big like Brad Pitt, George Clooney of the porn world, and now he was washed up for a while, and now he's like, it's my comeback. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has this like,
I'm the man.
yeah,
I'm the man.
in front of the mirror, and like kind of like when actors they win their Oscar in the bathtub. Like they're like, oh, I'm
Yeah, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm Rick fucking Dalton, man.
Yeah.
I'm Rick fucking Dalton.
yeah.
That type of shit.
Or Taxi Driver.
Yes.
And like,
you talking to me?
yeah.
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 And so he's like in the dressing room, he's about to go on set, and he's like, look, he's hyping himself up like, yeah, you're a star. You're a star. You're the man. And I didn't think he would go there because like in this whole movie about porn, you never once see Mark Wahlberg's Johnson. And like every time you think you are,
Good one, Johnson. I like that.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. Very good.
every time you think you are, PTA cuts away.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cheeky. I guess I'm not going to see it. And so like at the very last shot, I kind of was like, I'm not going to see it. I just
It's going to like cut to black
yeah,
or something. Yeah.
yeah. He's like, I'm a star. I'm a star. And then he gets up, unzips his pants, presents it. He goes,
The elephant trunk.
I'm a star. I'm a
like
star.
yelling at the trunk.
And then I think it cuts to black. And I think I died. I was like,
Oh man, I love that shit.
that is genius. That is so.
Now explain why that's genius and that's not just a cheeky joke. Because lots of people would just be like, "Oh, that's just rubbish. That's just being dirty and naughty or whatever."
It says so much
Now, what does it say?
about people in Hollywood and what they have to say to themselves.
In order to like live.
Yeah. But literally, he's like, this is what I am.
This is everything. This is all I have. So you perform, cause we got this. We got this, man.
I just died. Oh my god. I was like, that's just,
It's just like
you win.
It doesn't matter if it's your talent, your screenwriting skills, your biz dev painting skills.
Yeah.
It's just you just need a moment.
You need to do that.
to fillet yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was kind of like, you know, I watched a whole lot of like Hollywood is a piece of shit tantrum movies from a lot of different directors.
This might be.
I think this takes the cake.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of thought after I just laughed.
You were like euphoric for like a few minutes after the credits
Yeah.
roll. You were just like, "Oh my god!" You kept going, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I realized, I was like, you know, we always joked about how like I should do something similar to this, but like for animation.
Right.
One day. And I was kind of like, I looked at
I was
this
about
and-
to say, "Oh no, you said it. Someone's gonna beat you to it," but
No, PTA already beat all of us to
Right,
it.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at that movie and I was like,
oh fuck.
no one can do it
Better than
than this.
Yeah.
Like,
all of my observations are right here. And it's just so perfect. I kept saying, like, I don't think he's making fun of the porn industry. In fact, I think he's saying the porn industry is great. Hollywood, you're not doing anything much different than people in porn, honestly. Like, and I was like,
Man, I never thought of Mark Wahlberg's Johnson as like the reason. Like, everybody has a reason to come here. Like, they want to be the next it thing, and it's like his thing is his thing, like literally his thing. Yeah. And it's just like in that last moment of the movie, you just officially know this is what these people are like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
This is, what they have to say to themselves.
Yeah, like I am the Disney artist. I worked on these movies. Like we were talking about recently about. We're not going to use the name of the type of person, but there's I think groups of people in animation who, when their heyday has come, they like any actor looking at the golden ages of their career, just can't move past that.
Yeah.
They just can't move past the golden age of their lives and just be okay with my time came and went.
Yeah, like there's a new star, whatever, and like you're kind of watching your relevancy kind of fall away, and like that's life. That happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Whatever. But there's certain people who they're very bad at dealing with that.
Yeah.
They just it's like people who cannot stop reliving their golden years.
Yeah.
And the saddest part is it happens so
young.
Long
ago. Yeah, so young, so long ago. So it's like it's burned into their skull, this very impressionable moment when you're like really young and you think the whole world is just opening up to you, and then suddenly it stops.
Yeah. And
you're wondering why and how you could get that back again.
Yeah. And like, no, just age like a fine wine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
or take Janet's advice, reinvent yourself.
Yeah. And so, and like we don't all have to be like peak relevant for like all of like I'm perfectly fine being irrelevant. Like I do not care. I actually prefer being irrelevant. Like it's you don't realize how nice it is to be irrelevant until you put your life on the internet and you're like, oh, careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I remember right before you came out with the Disney video and everything, I knew that last January was going to be my last January as an anonymous person.
Yeah.
And I really relished that. I really kept thinking every single day, like, this is it.
Yeah.
My stupid face is going to be on the internet every day. I mean, every week from here on out.
Yeah, and I applaud people who have the guts to be like, well, I made my money and my time here on YouTube, and I'm going to peace out. I'd like to be an anonymous person once again. And I think that's nice. Be like, good for you. You made that choice. So, yeah.
Anonymity is awesome.
Yeah. People want so badly to be famous or to be known and to make their mark on the world. But it's a little bit not fun. Like Kevin Hart's new special, he talks about that. But yeah, Boogie Nights, I loved it. It is such a great commentary on Hollywood. Everyone should watch it. And I hope you tell me if you've watched it, tell me what you think.
Yeah, tell us what your favorite parts of Boogie Nights are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Make sure to like, subscribe, jingle, all the buttons. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to buy our merch. I'm wearing the Honey and Absinthe sweater. And check out these other videos for more episodes of this podcast. And we will see you next time.
Bye.